Hey everyone, before we get into the show, I wanted to go through all of our sponsors with you. First is forpatriots.com. Lots and lots of deals. I'm on their deal page right now. Right, you can get some crazy stuff right now. You get free shipping on all orders $97 or above. You buy three, get one free on specialty food kits. And also 20% off on custom go bags. So buy 4+ and save. They have Mother's Day specials. They even have, like with the best sellers, pretty amazing deals that they have here. And the prices are unbeatable. You look at these prices for the amount of food that you get, and that is actually less than you would spend at the grocery store. So check out 4Patriots. They're one of our best sponsors, and they've always got crazy deals going on. If you use the link in the description, you will get another discount on top of what they're already offering. All right, our next sponsor is EMP Shield, and they actually have a Liberty sale going on right now. You get up to 25% off, and if you click on my link in the description to go here, you get 50% off. So you also get to save on these deals over here on top of that. So if you buy one EMP Shield, you get an extra $20 off plus the 50%. You buy three EMP Shields, you get $120 off plus the 50%. You buy four EMP Shields, you can save an extra $200 plus 50 for each additional EMP Shield you purchase. These EMP Shields are not just for an electromagnetic pulse, but we always have thunder and lightning storms, so want to protect all of your vehicles, your home, your appliances. Check out EMP Shield today. This was supposed to be a live stream, but 2 years out of the live streaming business, I had all kinds of ghosts in the machine, and fitting for this show. I have a few things that I added that I didn't have on the live stream, so we'll go through that, being that it'll go quicker because I'm not answering chat or anything like that. So basically, let's talk about the campfire. What is the campfire about? The campfire is about basically stories of the supernatural. Um, it's a place where we can do fellowship and we can still talk about things that most people won't talk about because they were taught that the Bible is either too controversial and the supernatural is only in the movies and monsters don't exist either, except of course in the movies. So one cool thing that we're going to do here on our live streams with the campfire is I have a setup where if there's any viewers in the audience, if we don't have any guests scheduled, and you want to jump in and tell a story about something that happened with you that was supernaturally happening, and it could do with anything that we're going to talk about tonight, and even some things that we didn't mention. There's a lot of other things that fall into this realm of topics that I'm not going to cover on the first night, but we will. So basically, if it falls into the Bigfoot, Dogman, or any of the cryptids, UFO, UFAP, abductions, just experiences, sightings, that kind of thing. And if you don't want to come on the camera, you can, but you do want to get your story out, and that way you don't have to show your name, your face, or anything. You can send an email to support@irlmediahq.com, and I'll go ahead and read that on the air, and we can discuss that with the audience, or if we have any people that do want to come on. So the cool thing is I'm going to be doing my sponsor stuff at the very beginning, so I'm not going to be breaking for any commercials or anything like that. You may still get them on YouTube and Rumble because I don't know, YouTube, the amount of ads has just increased, and from what I understand, they're even going over live streams and slapping an ad in when you're doing a live stream. But there'll still be other commercials that are going on YouTube and on Rumble besides my own. So I've decided, so that way you know which ones are mine. They're at the very beginning, and I always have the links for those in the description down below. So let's see. I'm just going through my notes. I made some notes here too. So again, tonight's topics are cryptids and portals. I'm going to talk about a few of them, and more specifically, I want to talk about a few of them tonight, and we will hit on a lot of these on future shows too. And as you can tell, I've been out of it for about 2 years, so I'm kind of trying to get back into the swing and getting used to talking to a camera again and not face to face to live people. So I'll be looking at my notes a lot. So if I'm not looking up at you, it's because I got notes here. So number one, the most popular cryptid out there is known as Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe, or People of the Woods. That's what's been given here in the United States the name for a lot of these. I think skunk ape is another, hairy man, that kind of thing. But in other countries like Australia, it's known as Yowie, and over in like Nepal area, they call it the Yeti. It's basically the same thing, just probably variations on colors. I believe that this cryptid, and almost all cryptids, there are a few that aren't, but almost all cryptids, I believe, are supernatural. What I mean by supernatural is that they probably are flesh and blood, but I think they're interdimensional. Sometimes they can slip through the veil and kind of come in here. I'll explain a little bit more of how they do that as we go, but I believe most of them are interdimensional. The ones that seem to be here and not moving in and out, I was just going through some things the other day in the research, and I saw that there's been a large group of Sasquatch, Sabe, that are tracked from the Cascade Mountains in Oregon, and they move up through Washington and then up into Canada. And in Vancouver, Canada area, it's pretty mountainous over there, and there's a lot of rainforest and mountains up in that way. They seem to congregate up there, and I believe, I'm not sure, I'll get the name of the island because we're going to talk about this more in depth later, but there's an island off of Vancouver where there's a lot of activity. I don't believe that all Sasquatch are inherently evil. I think the interdimensional ones probably are. I'm just going to kind of refer to David Paulides with Missing 411. He's been covering. He hadn't come out until more recently about Sasquatch and maybe even Dogman being involved, and we'll get into Dogman in a bit. But a lot of these abductions and people gone missing and maybe found later with either pieces, or some come back alive, and some are just found in the woods, and then some are never found. But I think the ones that aren't found are taken back through a portal and taken someplace else. That's the only thing I can think of, because they talk about searching an area extensively, and then when either the body is found or the person is found alive, they're either found in an area that was already searched, or an exorbitant amount of miles away, that basically a distance that they couldn't have traveled in that amount of time. So again, some are evil, some are not. There's been a lot of people that have had experiences and face-to-face with Bigfoot, and there was never any kind of violence or anything like that. There's even stories of some older back in the day Native Americans that had kind of befriended them, and or just kind of lived with them and let them do their thing, and they all did their own thing as long as they didn't encroach on each other. But again, we'll get more into this, and I really would like to have stories from people. So if you have anything, again, just send your email to support@irlmediahq.com, and I'll read these on the air too. I think it'll add a little bit of flair to the show if we can get that. So then we're going to go into our second, which is Dogman and werewolves. And I have some pictures that I want to show you, and I hope I can get to them without too much of a problem navigating here. But I believe Dogman is also, there are versions that are interdimensional, and I believe that some Dogmen that people have had encounters with are they're created in a lab by our military industrial complex. There's been stories out there of people shooting and killing a Dogman that is either chasing their vehicle or had come after them in the woods or whatever. And I'll bring some of those stories on. I have them saved, but they're not for tonight. Where they've shot and killed a Dogman, and then in a very short amount of time, you got like the Men in Black, the people showing up in the black SUVs, definitely government or military people, maybe CIA, who knows. But They're talking to these people. They're confiscating guns. They're um, pretty much letting them know that they're going to be watching them. And the other big thing is that they're not allowed to talk about it. And if they do, then the bad stuff's going to start to happen. So let's see here. Also, I just wanted to mention there's going to be some crossover. I have another show. It's a live stream that will be going on, hopefully without the glitches. We're going to have that Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. That's called Lifting the Veil. And then we've got the Campfire, which is supposed to be Saturday night at 8 p.m. Live streaming. And the crossover is going to come when it comes with the ancient civilizations or pre-flood civilizations. And we're going to talk about that and how a lot of these cryptids, the original ones, even Bigfoot and giants like the ones that we've heard about in Kandahar, the mounds that have been dug up and they found, 9 and 10 foot tall skeletons. And there were apparently an Indian tribe in the southwest that trapped some of these giants in a cave and they smoked them out. They basically killed them. But they were 8, 9 feet tall and long red hair. 6 fingers, 6 toes. So going back to the biblical portion about these here, that when the angels came down, we're talking Genesis 6, when the fallen angels came down and they went into the women and they created what we call the Nephilim. And a lot of these cryptids are Nephilim and or creations, because they dabbled with DNA back then too. And we'll talk about the technology side of this on Lifting the Veil on Wednesday. It's going to get real deep there. All right, so let's see. There's going to be a lot of biblical stuff that we're going to reference here too. So I'm going to get down here to my screen share. Let's see if I can get over to that without messing things up. Get over to, first off, what I want to mention. I have a website called realtube.stream. It's loaded with videos and there's articles. A lot of it has to do with there's some of it that has to do with what we're talking about tonight on the Campfire. But there's also a lot that kind of overlaps into what we'll be talking about on Wednesday on Lifting the Veil. But if you look on this screen here, I have a video. It's realtube.stream is the link for the website. Now, right now, I have an SSL certificate issue, but if you're using Chrome browser, it does give you the ability on that first screen. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can click on Advanced, and and just click on to let you in anyway. The site's safe. I don't have any ads. I don't track anything. The site's 100% free. If you want to create an account there, that basically just allows you to put comments on videos and articles. And we do have a forum there, and that allows you to access the forum. And you can post, everybody can post in the forum. So anyway, realtube.stream. The video that I have circled here, you'll see that it's 1-7. That's chapters 1 through 7. They're all combined into one video. Otherwise, they were a mixture. Some of them were 5 minutes, some were 20 minutes, some were an hour. I just put them all together, and actually, they had one that was already put together, and I couldn't get it to work. So I just kind of grabbed their stuff, put it together, and it's about 5 hours and 15 minutes long. So if you've got a day where you aren't doing anything, I think you'll enjoy this video. Now, it says that it's the lost history of flat Earth. I'm not trying to push flat Earth here. They're flat Earth, but there's a lot of stuff in this video that's really going to open your eyes to, especially some of the things we're going to be talking about on Wednesday nights, but also one thing in particular that we're talking about right now with the Dogman. Let me bring this up here real quick. Well, before I do that, let me just show you a couple of the other people I want to give a shout out to. Tony Merkel over at the Confessionals. He's doing a phenomenal job of getting people on and documenting cryptids and supernatural stuff. There's some paranormal, but mostly it's the supernatural and cryptids. Okay, and then we have my lunch break. My lunch break is basically everything to do with what we're going to be talking about on Lifting the Veil on Wednesday. But the cool thing is he's also talking about starting to bring up about Nephilim with who these people were that built these buildings and sarcophagus and some of it, the gets into the pyramids, and he even did a bigger deep dive on what just came out about the pyramids in Giza. I think he might even be trying to get a hold of the guys that actually did the SAR. It's a sonic something radar. I forget. I'm not an expert on it, but it's pretty cool stuff. I think they're going to be doing a little bit more on that too. It's he's actually doing some crossover as well. But I really like his channel because most of his videos are anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes long. They're not real long. And then every once in a while he'll put out like one that's an hour long or something. He'll start putting pieces of the puzzle together from previous episodes, and how he does it. These guys are just phenomenal. They do really good work over there. So the last place I want to talk about, and this is what we're going to be hitting on mostly here, it's called The Facts by How to Hunt. And Steve has been doing his channel, I think it was either 6 years or 8 years now. And he's got, I think, over 300,000 subscribers now. But what he does, he's got an email. People write in and tell their story, and he reads their stories online, and they talk about it. Basically, these people now part of the club. And these are most of them. I would say about maybe 95% are Sasquatch, Sabe, Bigfoot encounters. Some are good, some are bad, and he also hits on some of the things that the Confessionals Tony Merkel talks about with portals, and we're going to get into that too a little bit tonight. But we're going to talk about portals a lot in future episodes. So, yeah, these guys here they're really good websites. Actually, YouTube channels, but I think they're on YouTube, and Rumble, all three of them. Okay, the facts by for what is it? The facts by How to Hunt. All right, and now the next one here. Okay, we're going to go through some of our images here. We talked about the Bigfoot, and I think I was supposed to just be able to click. Oh, it was. So we talked about the Bigfoot, the big hairy guy, conical head, the big brow, but the face basically looks human. That's why a lot of people that encountered these when they had a gun on them, they couldn't shoot because they said it looked too human. They were thinking that it's kind of like even me, I couldn't kill a monkey because a monkey, I'm not saying it looks human, but it's kind of falls in, and I am not a Darwin guy either. So, all right, and then we got into the Dogman. There are different variations of the Dogman, but basically they all look like a werewolf but it has a lot of human features, except like the face, except it's dog. Unlike this photo here, a lot of them talk about having really long ears. In Australia, there have been about half a dozen sightings that at least I've heard about so far where it had droopy ears. It looked like a wolf, but it had droopy ears. More like a dog than a wolf. Okay, and so this is where we're at right now, and where we talk about biblical. Um, I'm sure any Catholics out there, or anybody that is familiar with Catholicism and the saints, particularly Saint Christopher. He's the patron saint of travelers, and Saint Christopher was always depicted as a dogman. You'll see like more St. Christopher medals that you see, the newer ones today, it depicts it as a man. Again, this is more hidden history stuff, which we'll cover more on Wednesdays, that they're trying to hide this from us. And if it weren't for a lot of these old photos here, or like pictures and paintings, and how St. Christopher was depicted then, we would never know. We would believe what we'd see on the St. Christopher medal. But a quick story on St. Christopher. St. Christopher, before he became a saint, he was a very, very large, very strong, with a man body but a dog face. And he basically was like, I will take and worship anybody that would be stronger than me, or somebody that all the people would worship. And at one point he did even worship Satan, Lucifer. But one day he was at this river that was flowing very strong, and there was a child there, like maybe more of a baby, and the baby talked to him and said, "Hey, can you take me to the other side?" And Christopher was like, "Well, absolutely. You're easy. I can take you across, no problem." So he's taking him across, and as he's going through the waters that he'd never had problems navigating through before, he felt the child getting heavier and heavier, and it was getting harder and harder and harder to get to the other side. Um, but he eventually did make it, and in his talking with him, he found out that this child that he was taken across was Jesus Christ. And so, and why Saint Christopher is always depicted with the red robe, and he would have a shield or a plate of silver, is because he said it felt like he was carrying a large load of silver across. But then when he found out that it was Jesus Christ that he was taken across the river, he said, "I'm going to worship you." And he did, and he became a very devout Christian, and he eventually then became a saint. That's kind of the quick full story, but if you watch that video that I talked about on my website, you'll get the full story. It's even more amazing. My story's boring. It's the short version. All right. So getting on to the next one, there's just a lot more depictions of Saint Christopher. Many different paintings by different people, and always depicted as having a dog head or a dog face. All right, so the next one here, this is kind of new for a lot of people, but I've known about this for a pretty long time. I've never personally seen one, but I've seen some videos that look pretty authentic. I've heard too. I've seen some things on Reddit where there were some people on Reddit that actually created this thing years ago out of, like, I don't know how they did it, but they did it through some video editing. And they didn't have AI to do it for them back then, but they did it through that and made some fake videos that looked pretty believable. But since then, I I'm on a channel on Telegram, and it's run by a guy who goes by the name of Aries, and actually he goes by, now I'm trying to remember, off of G.I. Joe, what's the Cobra, Commander Cobra. He goes by this Commander Cobra now. I don't know why he picks a bad guy's name to, but either way, um, his channel has been getting a lot of videos. They're talking about the cryptids and things, but the channel's not specifically about cryptids. A lot of it's not coming out and saying, yeah, that it's totally biblical either, but they're actually talking about end times things that we see in the book of Revelations, when the Nephilim were going to come back, and the giants, and a lot of these things were going to be coming out of the ground. Well, the crawlers, or the pale crawler, or pale white crawler, which is what you see on the screen here, is what they're known as. Um, they, in my opinion, I believe these are um, chimeras, and or they're made with gene splicing, in underground dumps, in the deep underground military bases. And a lot of you that have watched us in the past, you know that we've talked about dumbs. You'll hear about that on pretty much all the other shows, and you may also even start hearing about them from David Paulides on Missing 411. But I believe that these things are chimeras, and I believe that they're created in labs underground. There are similar versions of these um, that look more human. Basically, what they are is emancipated people that have been starved and probably been giving gene therapy, or having gene stuff, like injected into them. They've been worked on in the lab. And if you all remember the last few years, all of the so-called earthquakes that have been happening all across the whole United States, mostly on the West Coast, Utah, Idaho, and all points south, in those areas. Um, the the scoop on that, I don't have 100% proof, but I'm pretty sure, because we've had a few leaks that came out. And we're going to go into some of those a little bit deeper. I have some really good stuff pertaining to the dumbs and some of the things that happened down there. But these things here, and then some of the abducted people that they had down there that they were experimenting on, escaped those labs. When they went down and they were blowing stuff up, some of these things got out. And there's actually some video footage um, up by Seattle, Tacoma area, I believe, mostly like Seattle. And there's some in California, I want to say, around Los Angeles, Hollywood area, some of the more affluent areas over in that section, where these people got out, and you see them. They're kind of zombie-ish. I remember a few years back, they were talking that, yeah, these people were like high on bath salts or something, and they were like eating people. There's also other videos that I have of that I blurred out the graphic stuff, but one of them had an arm, a human arm, and it was sitting along a fence someplace on the outskirts of LA, chewing the meat off of it. Um, so yeah, and those are the ones that look more like people. They're you can see them up through during the daytime, but the the crawlers, or the pale white crawlers, they are very nocturnal. You saw in the intro they would have like glowing eyes, kind of like what you would see on a dog or a deer when the headlights shine in their eyes. Um, but the other attribute that they have, they're very skinny and emancipated, but they're also very fast, and they're very strong. But in their claws that they have on their fingernails, they have some, and I'll get the name of the poison for you guys too, but it does have a poison that if they scrape you and it gets through the epidermis part of the skin to where you get into the blood area, within a minute, that is supposed to paralyze you. So, but I'll have more information on that when we get more, talk more deeply about the crawlers. All right. So, yeah, it's also known as the rake. That was what it was first known as. Most people called it the rake. All right. And then I'll even when we get to it, I'll even share that Telegram channel if any of you are on Telegram and you want to um, request to join the channel and check it out. It's pretty good. Um, so after, oh, before we get into that, they say that there's a lot of these now that are AI generated that are in videos and stuff, but they have tools out there that you can test the video to see if what you're seeing is actually AI or if it's real. So then I was going to talk about portals. It's not a cryptid, but when we talk about the cryptids, especially with the Bigfoot and Dogmen, and especially when the Bigfoot and Dogmen are seen in like close proximity or like in that area together, which there's a lot of sightings of that. There's always the portals, and what you see with a lot of times when you know that there's a portal use that's been used, you'll see spheres. And I believe I put some pictures of, see here's like one of the like a depiction of a portal. I'm going to try to track down the video from Scott Carpenter. He had a camera on his shoulder when he was walking. He was actually out looking for Dogman in an area where he encountered it before. But on his camera that he had on his shoulder that pointed behind him, his camera caught an actual portal open in the camera. And it's actual video. So I'm going to see if I can get that video and I'll play that for you guys too in a future campfire. All right, so I think I have some stuff out of order here. Here we go. So you'll see spheres. They're either like a glowing blue, a glowing white, or a glowing green, or a glowing yellow. I've actually personally witnessed one that looks like the glowing yellow, but it was more like an orange. It looked like that, but it was more orange. So I did see that. But when you see these, um, there's two things that people think they are, and I kind of tend to agree with the one because of it's it seems to be a shell. Now, a lot of times your spheres are going to be small, but there's been other spheres that are like 4 or 5 feet high. There was one that they actually caught a still of, if you want to believe it or not, on Skinwalker Ranch on one of their episodes. They got, it looked basically like a shiny chrome, like a mirror, like a chrome sphere. So it mirrored back everything. But that was actually pretty cool if it's real. So in the portals and where they, a lot of times there's been people talking about when they didn't see the portal, but then there were some that did see a portal, but every one of them always said something to the effect of they heard like a metal door opening. You get that creak, and then it closes, and it's like a slammed metal door, and like an echo. And they're saying that that could be what the portal sounds like sometimes when it closes. So that's interesting. Let me just see here if I have anything else on the portals. We'll probably get into, talk about those a little bit more. Now, thinking back here, during the Gulf War, if y'all remember how in Iraq, the Museum of Antiquities was pretty much looted and a lot of things were taken. One of the things that were supposedly taken from there was a Stargate, which is also a portal, but it's not a Stargate like what you see on Stargate SG-1, the TV show. but it's similar. It looks more like a gate, but it can be activated and you can go through it. And I don't think you can, I think you can do two things with them. You can stay in the same timeline and portal to another location, or you can portal through to another dimension, like another timeline or timelines. And there's other ways of getting through other timelines, and we'll talk more about those when we get more into portals. I have some really cool firsthand experience stuff with people that how they get it, how they do these interdimensional or realm shifting, and we're going to talk about that now with the um, with out of body experiences, lucid dreams, and especially astral projection. And the reason I chose this picture here because most of the people that talk about um, when they'll have like lucid dreams are types of dreams that are like the more realistic ones. They feel more real. It's like you can actually smell and taste and touch, and a lot of times, like the ones that I've had, they're in color, full color. And lucid dream is a step before astral projection. And what you see in the picture here is actually an astral projection. It's where you go out of your body, but you see there's a line that's on the picture that connects to the body with the astral body. Okay? And that basically is, they called it like a thin silver string or a thread. And it always stays connected to them no matter where they can go. A lot of people that have have astral projected and just went above their house and looked over their city from higher up above their house. Others have gone to other cities, but that string is always still connected. Okay, that's what brings them back and gets them back into their body. So they're able to go even to other countries and go into other places. You know, I don't think that this is a form of remote viewing. I think remote viewing is different. Um, the astral projection is, I believe it's maybe, I don't know if it's your soul or what, but it's part of you. I think it's your consciousness is actually out and being able to go. So, um, the really wild side are some of the firsthand stories that we've talked with. Well, I haven't. Tony has talked with some of these people, and they will astral project out, and they use little bubbles. Okay, whether they be like this, I don't think they're like the glowing spheres that what we see that come through the portals, but they're similar as more they look more like a bubble with maybe a kind of a bluish green tinge to them. But they go into a bubble, and that bring each bubble takes them to like a different realm, if you will. So they can traverse these bubbles to get to the realm that they want to go to. And the interesting thing about some of these realms, the time moves different than what it does here with their body. So their body is laying in the bed, and if they're astral projecting for 3 hours of the 8 hours that they're sleeping, say they're out for 3 hours and they're in this other realm, that 3 hours could basically be 30 days. So the time over there is moving at a different speed than what it is here. So they'll end up coming, they can come back out and come back. But their astral body, apparently from the way some of them are talking, are getting either training to fight other entities wherever they're at. They're getting augmented, like with superhuman strength, kind of like a super soldier. And in one case, there's one guy that got like basically like angel wings, but yeah, so he can fly now that he's got the wings, but he also has superhuman strength. Um, and I'll get more information on a lot of these stories we'll talk about. It would be really cool if I could get Tony to actually come on a show and talk with us about things from time to time. If he's just busy, so it probably won't happen. So let's see. So people are asking, like, with again with portals, and they talk about stargates. I just want to touch on it that I believe that they're interdimensional, or you can use them in this same dimension that we're in, and just go from place to place. If there's like another portal area that you can come through there, but I do not believe that they're intergalactic like what they're showing on Stargate SG-1. And I think Stargate SG-1, they really, I don't, if I just think that they were going to different timelines. Um, I don't believe that they were, well, however they wanted you to believe in the movie, but if it were real, I don't believe it was intergalactic. I think it's interdimensional or between timelines. And that's why the show is actually called Lifting the Veil, that we're going to be getting in on Wednesday and talking about these, because basically what these things are is a veil, and all these cryptids and other people from these other places. There's a lot of talk of time travelers. I've seen some things, yeah, you see TikTok videos, and is it really real, or people question it. I don't think there's any way to really check it. It could, it could just be a good storyline, but they talk about time travelers. Um, I think I think President Trump even alluded to the fact that we are going to be able to do some type of time travel and or something to do with portals, where we can go portal from one place to the next. Kind of like back in the Star Trek days when they got up in there like, beam me up, Scotty. They just went from this place and they beamed them down to the target location. I think that's what they're talking about, and I think that it's probably real. I think we have technology. Wasn't created by us. We found it and we figured out how to use it, but it's been hidden from us. And we'll talk more about that on Wednesday nights. So, I wanted to point out that these people that we're talking about, with the lucid dreams and then being able to get into astral projection, um, some were Christians, some were not. Some were Christians that fell away and then ended up coming back. Um, they Some of them are forced into astral projection. Yeah, like, for example, you lay in bed. I don't know if I had one on here or not. I think I might have. There we go. Yeah. So, in part of a lucid dream, you can get sleep paralysis, and a lot of people that get sleep paralysis, I would say 9 out of 10 experience something like this, like something sitting on their chest or trying to push them into their mattress. I've had 6 experiences of that myself. The very first one was a very pretty, gorgeous, long brown hair woman in a white, like kind of like a sheer white gown, kind of something that you would see on Lord of the Rings, like some of the elven women would wear, something like that. But the thing was, is that she sat on me across my chest, and when she got close in, her face changed, and it was like more like a ghoul. Um, and there were no eye sockets. There was just some red, glowing red, deep, deep, deep inside the eye sockets. And every one of my other experiences with sleep paralysis, I had one where it did have like a ghoulie in a like a flowing smoky cape or cloak, and you couldn't see anything under the hood until it got close and you could see the glowing eyes, but it was trying to push me into my mattress, like pushing, maybe like it was trying to push me through my mattress. But I felt like if I didn't get out of this, that I was going to die or I was going to be someplace else. And being that I couldn't speak, the only thing I could move were my eyes. But in my head, I screamed, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke you. You've got to leave. You leave. You're not welcome here." And I recited Psalm 28 as much as I could in the situation that I was in, and eventually it left. And then a few seconds later, I just shot straight up in my bed, and everything was like normal. I looked over to my left, and what I could see when I was laying in the bed, my bedroom door was open, and when I looked to the left, I could see like this red dot out in the living room. And now this is when I had the sleep paralysis. And when I looked out there, the red dot was there, and then I realized it was one of our lithium battery chargers. It didn't have any batteries in it, so just the red light was the red LED light was on, and that's what I saw. So it was kind of wild. I also had a levitation um, situation, but I think it might have been drug induced. I'm not sure, but um, the weird thing is that when I levitated out of my room, and what I saw in my living room was my stepson laying on the couch. Wasn't a big deal. He was wearing his white hoodie. He was sleeping, but he had his shoes on and he had his feet up on the couch, and that's kind of a big no-no for Mama. And as I floated back to the bedroom, I saw he was still there. It was still the same thing. And when I was hovering, got in to hover above my body, I just dropped back into my body, and it was like somebody dropped me on my back on a sandy beach, on the sand. It kind of almost knocked the wind out of me, but it was enough that my wife woke up and said, "What is wrong?" And I said, "Oh, nothing. I had a bad dream." And then we just rolled over and went back to sleep. But I got up in the morning to get ready to go to work, and I was walking to the bathroom to go take a shower, and I looked on the living room sofa. My stepson was sleeping on the couch, and he had the white hoodie and his shoes on. I didn't get out of bed, I'm pretty sure. Either way, I think it might have been drugs, and not it were painkillers because I had just had a lot of surgery, sleep apnea surgery. Anyway, um, astral projection, levitation. I've had some UFO experiences. I'll talk about those later in other shows. Just that I had one when I was 3. I had one when I was in 4th grade, and then the most recent one was a couple of years ago in South Carolina. I actually witnessed a TR-3B, one of the triangle crafts with the 3 lights in the corners, with a friend of mine who is now deceased, but it was pretty cool. We saw it together. Um, yeah, I'll talk about my UFO experiences more in depth then. Um, I think otherwise I pretty much with the UFOs and UAPs. What I did want to kind of talk about a little bit with those is with the abductions. You know, who's doing the abductions? Is it interdimensional beings? Is it our military? Is it both? Like I mentioned, I think the Sasquatch stuff. I believe they are actually abducting people and either taking them out through a portal, or I think our military, because they know how to, they know how to do the portal stuff, and I think it would answer how around the point where they figured that this person disappeared, the dogs can sniff it out, and then all of a sudden they just stop sniffing. They can't. It's like they can't find anything. They had to have gone through a portal, or they had to get brought straight up. Um, the way I understand it is our TR3Bs have cloaking technology. and they do have beams, so stuff can get beamed up. So that could be something too. I don't know, but maybe some of you might have some ideas or might have had some experiences. Again, I would really like to hear your experiences, and if you want to either come on and discuss them with me, you can send me an email too at the same place, support@irlmediahq.com. We can schedule, or what show that you want to come on, whether it be the next one or if we've already got guests, we can schedule you in and have you on and talk about your experience. And if you don't want to come on camera and you want to write it out for me, please do that. I'll read it on air. So, since there aren't any chat questions because we're not live, but we will be next Saturday at 8 p.m., I am going to go ahead and sign off and get these uploaded. Y'all take care. God bless.